United States President Donald Trump has taken some interesting steps since taking office. Donald Trump initially introduced thousands of domestic regulations before turning his attention to the international agenda. As Trump shifted to the global stage, Canada, Mexico, and China faced unexpected tariffs. The U.S. leader announced tariffs of 25% on Canada and Mexico and between 10% and 60% on China. The tariffs on Canada and Mexico were later suspended for a month, but Trump's tariffs on China remain in place. In addition to these countries, the U.S. leader also targeted the European Union. Trump argued that the U.S. had only suffered from its relations with the EU. The EU treats us very, very unfairly, very badly. The European Union is an atrocity, what they've done. Am I going to impose tariffs on the European Union? Absolutely. Absolutely. The European Union has treated us so terribly. For this reason, Donald Trump stated that the work on imposing tariffs on the EU had become urgent. In other words, the world's political and economic landscape had entered a turbulent period. Most of the world's nations were wary of Trump's unexpected tariff moves. Even Pacific countries were skeptical of these tax decisions, despite being considered U.S. allies. One such country was Japan. The Tokyo government entered a critical period to ensure it would not be listed in Donald Trump's tax decrees. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and U.S. President Donald Trump had a significant meeting recently. But was the Japanese Prime Minister able to persuade the U.S. leader to abandon the tariffs during their meeting? What important international economic and political decisions emerged from the discussions between the U.S. and Japanese leaders? Now, we will uncover the answers to all these questions together. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and like this video to stay updated with our content. Let's begin. In fact, the answers to these questions were hidden in the meeting between Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and U.S. President Donald Trump and the events that followed. The two leaders struck a warm tone and agreed that Tokyo would refrain from imposing tariffs on Trump's other allies for the time being. At the White House, the two leaders praised each other, pledged to stand together against Chinese aggression, and claimed to have found a solution to the ongoing U.S. steel dispute. A common rival was bringing the U.S. and Japan significantly closer. However, despite the Chinese threat, the U.S. leader did not alter his stance and continued to embrace the taxman role. Trump pressed Ishiba to reduce the U.S. trade deficit with Japan to zero and warned that Tokyo could face tariffs on its exports if it failed to comply. This was one of Trump's clearest threats to Japan on record. After targeting Canada, Mexico, and China, Trump now had Japan in his crosshairs. So, how did Japan respond to Donald Trump's tariff threat? Japan's approach was to shower Trump with praise. At a joint press conference, Ishiba expressed his excitement about meeting such a famous figure. Both leaders acknowledged the opportunity for rapprochement, marking the second visit by a foreign head of state during Trump's new term. Despite concerns that Trump might be as tough on Tokyo as he had been on other U.S. allies, the two leaders further strengthened their decades-old security and trade ties with the United States. During a photo exchange, Trump praised the 68-year-old Japanese Prime Minister as handsome. Trump also laughed when Ishiba said he could not answer a theoretical question about whether he would retaliate against any U.S. tariffs, remarking that it was actually a very good answer. Trump then stated that Japan's Nippon Steel would make a major investment in U.S. steel but would not acquire the troubled company as previously negotiated. The U.S. leader clarified that they would look at investing rather than purchasing the company. After these statements, attention turned back to the risks posed by China. Trump declared that he and Japan had agreed to confront China's economic aggression and issued a joint statement condemning Beijing for its provocative activities in the disputed South China Sea. Following China, Trump's focus shifted to North Korea. Despite having met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during his first term, Trump has expressed a desire to build relations with Pyongyang while also calling for a denuclearized North Korea. In light of Trump's supportive statements, Japanese media reported that Japan pledged to invest $1 trillion in the U.S. and increase its purchases of U.S. defense equipment. Ishiba stated that his country is the largest investor in the U.S. and would adopt this stance to further increase its spending. Japan successfully protected itself from Trump's more punitive measures, such as sudden trade wars and pressure to increase financial contributions for hosting U.S. troops. This historical background is one of the reasons why Japan and the U.S. maintain strong relations, preventing Trump from imposing tariffs on Tokyo for the time being. A few days after Trump's first election victory, Japan's former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe rushed to present him with a gold-plated golf club. Trump also invited Abe's wife, Aiki, to dinner at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida last December. Now, Japan appears to be off Trump's tariff radar. Experts had already predicted potential tensions between the two countries at the time of the election. Interestingly, national elections in Japan and the U.S. took place at nearly the same time in late 2024. In the U.S., the election date was fixed, while in Japan, the lower house of parliament held early elections due to the dissolution of the second chamber. A coalition government in crisis, led by the Liberal Democratic Party and the centrist Komeito Party, lost popular support, leading to early elections, which resulted in a decisive loss. The election results in both countries had significant implications. President-elect Donald Trump secured a popular majority and a clear victory, with Republican Party support granting him control of both houses of Congress. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba faced a hung parliament, with no party winning a majority in Japan's 465-seat lower house. Trump would govern with firm control over all three branches of government for the next 4 years, while Ishiba led a fragile minority coalition vulnerable to dissolution. In contrast to 8 years ago, when Trump first took office, the current political landscape is starkly different. In November 2016, then Prime Minister Shinzo Abe had the honor of becoming the first foreign leader to meet President-elect Trump at Trump Tower in New York City. Abe enjoyed a record-breaking 8-year tenure, during which he transformed Japan's global image and gained favor among conservative Americans. Trump saw Abe as a strong and successful leader, counting him among a select group of international politicians he respected and trusted. By contrast, as Trump prepares for his second presidency, Ishiba is a newcomer with only months of leadership experience. As Japan and the U.S. navigate these changes, Trump is urged to recognize the real threats facing the Pacific region and understand Japan's strategic importance. Only a harmonious relationship between the U.S. and its Pacific allies can counter China's and Russia's growing influence in the region. Thank you for watching.